Most people think hair loss is just about getting older or inheriting it from your parents. You look in the mirror, notice the thinning, and resign yourself to this is just how it goes. But that belief is both outdated and disempowering. The truth is, we now understand the biology of hair loss in a much deeper, more actionable way. And that's where everything begins to shift, because when you understand why something is happening, you can begin to change it. Hair doesn't just fall out randomly. There's always a root cause. It's not just your scalp that's involved, your nervous system, your hormones, your nutrition, and even your stress levels are all communicating in real time, sending signals that either keep hair follicles active or slowly shut them down. Hair is a biological indicator. When your body is under threat, whether it's stress, nutrient deficiency, inflammation, or hormonal imbalance, one of the first things it does is redirect energy and resources away from what it considers non-essential. And yes, your hair, in terms of survival, is considered non-essential. So what do we see? Thinning, shedding, receding hairlines. But here's the empowering part. It's not permanent. The follicles aren't dead, they're dormant. They're in a state where they've been told by your internal environment, we can't grow right now. And your job is to reverse that message. You do that not by guessing, not by buying random supplements, but by understanding and aligning your daily behaviors with what science tells us actually impacts follicle function. One of the most influential drivers of hair loss is a hormone called DHT, a byproduct of testosterone. When DHT binds to receptors in your hair follicles, particularly on the scalp, it sends a signal that leads to follicle miniaturization. The hairs grow shorter, weaker, and eventually stop emerging at all. But why does DHT surge or become more active in certain people? Often, it's not just about high levels, it's about how your body handles it, the enzymes involved, and whether inflammation or oxidative stress is present. That's why simply lowering DHT isn't always enough. You need a full system approach. Cortisol, your primary stress hormone, is another major player. When you're chronically stressed, when you sleep poorly, when your nervous system is in fight or flight mode day after day, your body goes into conservation mode. It pulls back from anything that isn't about immediate survival. That's why stress-related hair loss is so common, and also why it's so misunderstood. People think the stress has to be massive, like trauma or grief. But often it's chronic micro stressors, constant scrolling, poor sleep hygiene, undereating, overtraining, rushing, no downtime that keep the system in low-grade distress. Over time, this environment begins to choke off the resources hair follicles need to thrive. Then there's the role of blood flow and nutrient delivery. Your scalp, just like any other part of your body, needs oxygen and nutrients to function. When circulation is poor, when you're nutrient deficient, your follicles are quite literally starving. Vitamins like D, B12, iron, and zinc are crucial here. Without them, the hair growth cycle is disrupted. The pill we're going to talk about later only works because it addresses this issue at the molecular level. But that doesn't replace your responsibility to ensure your body is nourished. So if you're losing hair, the question isn't just what can I take? It's what is my internal environment signaling to my body right now? Because the message your biology receives dictates your results. And that message is shaped by your behavior, what you eat, how you sleep, how you manage stress, whether you move your body, and yes, whether you understand the science enough to make better choices. Hair loss isn't random. It's a reflection of deeper signals. Change the signals and you change the outcome. Most people are searching for a miracle, something simple they can take once and forget about. They want a pill that works like magic, but here's what needs to be understood. The real power of any effective compound lies not in illusion, but in alignment with biology. If something works, it works because it leverages the natural systems already present in your body. That's what this pill does. It doesn't bypass your biology, it works with it. That's why 9 out of 10 people are seeing results. It's not luck, it's physiology. This pill doesn't just throw ingredients at the problem. It targets the exact mechanisms that lead to hair loss in the first place, particularly the role of DHT and the progressive shrinking of hair follicles. What's critical here is how it modulates enzyme activity. Specifically, it inhibits the enzyme 5-alpha reductase, which converts testosterone into DHT. By slowing this conversion, the pill reduces the concentration of DHT at the follicular level, and that's the point of leverage. You're not erasing testosterone, you're simply shifting the hormonal environment so that your scalp is no longer under attack. But DHT isn't the only target. This pill also includes ingredients that improve blood flow to the scalp, increase delivery of oxygen and nutrients, and reduce local inflammation. That's a big deal, because even if DHT is controlled, if your follicles are inflamed or starved of nutrients, they're not going to reawaken. Growth won't happen unless you restore the full ecosystem. Think of it like a garden. You can remove the weeds, but if the soil is dry and the roots aren't fed, nothing flourishes. The formula in this compound tackles both sides of the equation, removing the obstacle and restoring the environment. And then there's the mitochondrial angle, something most people overlook. Hair follicles require massive amounts of cellular energy to stay in their active, growing phase. This pill includes support for mitochondrial function, which helps power the regrowth process at the cellular level. It's not enough to just stop the damage. You have to energize the recovery. That's the difference between stopping hair loss and actually reversing it. Now, it's tempting to think this means you just take the pill and sit back, but the data tells a different story. Yes, 9 out of 10 people saw regrowth, but the ones who saw the most dramatic changes were those who didn't just rely on the pill. They optimized their lifestyle alongside it. They focused on consistent use, took it at the same time each day, supported it with proper nutrition and rest, and used protocols to reduce stress and improve sleep. These aren't side factors, they're force multipliers. And this isn't just about science on paper. We're talking about real-world application, real people who went from losing hair rapidly to regaining it, not just physically, but mentally. Because when you start to see results, something changes inside you. You start to believe again. You show up with more confidence, more discipline. You start pushing harder in the gym, speaking up more in meetings, taking better care of your body, all because you no longer feel like you're deteriorating. And all of that momentum reinforces the process. It becomes a self-fulfilling loop. That's what transformation looks like. The pill works, but it works because it honors how the body actually functions. It's not magic, it's molecular precision. And when you pair that precision with a mindset that takes full ownership of the process, you get results that seem unbelievable until they're not. Until they're your reality. This isn't about hope. It's about harnessing what works and showing up with full intention. The pill is powerful, but it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's a catalyst, not a crutch. What actually determines the magnitude of your results is how you choose to live each day while you're taking it. You can't just swallow a capsule and expect your body to override months or years of neglect. You need to create an environment where the biology can actually do what it's designed to do: restore, repair, and regrow. Hair follicles respond to signals: biochemical, hormonal, and environmental. That means everything you do, from how you eat to how you sleep, to how often you move, becomes part of the communication your body receives. So, if you're taking the pill but still chronically undersleeping, eating inflammatory foods, staying glued to your screen with zero natural light exposure, or skipping basic scalp care, you're sending mixed signals. You're saying grow while also telling your body we're still under threat. That contradiction slows progress. Let's talk about a few of those behaviors. Light is one of the simplest yet most powerful tools you have. Getting sunlight in the morning doesn't just boost mood, it regulates your cortisol rhythm, anchors your circadian clock, and supports hormone balance. When your hormones stabilize, your whole system operates more efficiently, and that includes your skin and scalp health. It's a small behavior that amplifies the impact of everything else you're doing. including the pill. Then there's movement. Exercise increases blood flow, and better blood flow means better nutrient and oxygen delivery to the scalp. You want the pill to reach your follicles. You want those dormant roots to wake up and stay active, improve your circulation. Even just a brisk walk every day sends a message to your body that growth, recovery, and regeneration are safe. That you're not stuck in survival mode anymore. Sleep, too, cannot be ignored. Most of your body's repair work happens during deep sleep. Growth hormone peaks, inflammation decreases, and cellular energy is restored. You want that pill to do its job, you've got to give it the right conditions. No supplement, no pharmaceutical, no protocol can work optimally in a body that is chronically sleep deprived. That's non-negotiable. And then there's something people rarely think about: scalp stimulation. Massaging the scalp daily, even for just a few minutes, increases local circulation, reduces tension, and physically signals the area that it's time to become active again. This isn't just old-school tradition, it's now backed by data showing how blood flow and mechanical stimulation affect follicular behavior. Pair that with consistent supplementation, and you create a compounding effect. You're not just hoping the pill works, you're training your body to respond to it more effectively. What separates those who see average results from those who experience real transformation is this mindset. The decision to take full ownership not just of what they take, but how they live while taking it. They're not passive, they're proactive. They turn every behavior into an advantage, and in doing so, they shift from waiting for results to actively creating them. You have far more influence over the outcome than you think if you choose to use it. Hair loss is often treated like a surface-level issue, something purely cosmetic. But if you look closer, you'll realize it goes much deeper, not just into your biology, but into your psychology. And what's fascinating is how tightly linked the brain and hair really are. The nervous system plays a major role in how your body grows, maintains, and even loses hair. Your thoughts, your emotional state, and your stress levels aren't just feelings floating around, they're sending real, measurable signals throughout your body that either support or suppress growth. When your brain perceives threat, whether physical or emotional, it initiates a cascade of survival responses. The stress hormone cortisol rises, blood flow is redirected away from non-essential systems, and your body starts prioritizing immediate survival over long-term maintenance. And that means growth, especially in things like hair, slows down or even shuts off entirely. This isn't just theory, it's physiology. Cortisol doesn't just affect your mood, it interferes with the signaling pathways that regulate the hair cycle. Chronic stress pushes hair follicles into a prolonged resting phase, and without intervention, many of those follicles won't return to the active growth state on their own. Now think about what that means long term. If your nervous system is constantly on edge, if you're wired and anxious all day, scrolling endlessly, jumping from task to task without recovery, you're telling your body one thing: we're not safe. And when the body doesn't feel safe, it doesn't grow. It protects, it pulls back, and the first things to go are those that aren't essential to immediate survival, like growing thick, healthy hair. This is why regulating your nervous system is such a critical part of the protocol. Deep sleep, mindfulness, breathwork, time in nature, these aren't optional wellness hacks. They are biological reset buttons. They help signal safety to your system. They tell your brain you can shift from surviving to thriving. And in that shift, your hormones begin to balance, inflammation drops, and your body starts reprioritizing growth. That's also why people report not just hair returning, but confidence, energy, and mental clarity improving alongside it. Because when your brain begins to feel safe, your body follows. And when your body feels safe, it begins to restore. It begins to regenerate. The other key piece here is identity. Hair loss impacts how people see themselves. It chips away at confidence, makes you feel like you're aging faster than you should be. That psychological weight adds to the biological burden. But when you commit to a system, when you take the science seriously, when you show up every day and put in the effort, you start building self-trust. And that changes your state. You shift from feeling powerless to being in control, and that shift neurologically is powerful. The brain and body are constantly talking. If you want different results, you have to change the message. Science and data are essential, but they only go so far. What really moves people is seeing proof, living, breathing examples of transformation, and that's what makes this process so compelling. Because once you start seeing others go through it, people who were once discouraged, frustrated, and feeling like nothing would work, and then you watch them slowly reclaim not just their hair, but their sense of self, that's when you know it's real. These are people from all walks of life. Young professionals whose confidence was slipping, parents in their 40s and 50s who thought the best version of themselves was behind them, even athletes who felt like aging was accelerating faster than it should have. They all started with the same doubts. They'd tried shampoos, oils, trendy treatments. Nothing seemed to stick. But once they committed to a system, one that included this pill, the right behaviors, and the mindset to stick with it, everything began to change. And the changes weren't always instant. For some, it took weeks before they saw visible results. But internally, they started feeling different much sooner, more energy, better sleep, improved focus. And those improvements weren't random. They were signs that their system was rebalancing, that their body was shifting out of stress mode and into a state of repair. By month 2 or 3, new hair began to sprout. Thinner areas started filling in. People who hadn't seen growth in years were suddenly watching their hairline strengthen and their confidence return. But again, it wasn't just the pill. It was the entire protocol. They showed up every day. They tracked their progress. They took care of their diet, prioritized sleep, stayed consistent, even when motivation dipped. That's what separates transformation from temporary change. And the ripple effect was massive. Hair growth was the first victory, but then it became a spark. It triggered better habits, a stronger mindset, a new identity. You could see it in their posture, hear it in their voice. They weren't just reacting to life anymore, they were leading it. And that shift is just as important as the physical results. It's easy to be skeptical until you see someone just like you succeed, and then suddenly, belief becomes possible. Results become real, and you realize there's no reason you can't be next. The final piece that ties everything together is consistency. It sounds simple, almost too obvious, but it's the one thing most people overlook. They try something for a week, maybe 2, and if they don't see instant results, they stop. But your biology doesn't work on a fast forward button. It works on signals, patterns, and sustained effort. And when it comes to reversing hair loss, the real results come from stacking small, consistent actions over time. This pill isn't a one and done solution. It's part of a process, one that unfolds gradually. The first few weeks are about priming your body, regulating hormones, calming inflammation, and improving nutrient delivery. You may not see much on the outside yet, but internally, the groundwork is being laid. And that's where most people quit right before things start to turn around. But those who stay consistent, they cross that invisible line where biology starts shifting in their favor. And it's not just about taking the pill every day. It's about showing up in every area, eating in a way that supports cellular repair, getting to bed on time so the body can enter deep restorative phases, reducing stress through practices like breath work or time outdoors, and supporting circulation with movement and scalp stimulation. It's not overwhelming, but it does require commitment. These are habits that build momentum. The longer you keep them going, the easier it becomes to sustain, and the faster your system responds. What's powerful is how consistency starts to build identity. You stop identifying as someone who's trying to fix a problem, and start showing up as someone who takes care of their biology, and that shift matters. Because the way you see yourself impacts the way your nervous system functions, the way you make choices, the way you show up in every other aspect of life. It's not just about growing your hair back, it's about becoming the version of you that makes that growth inevitable. Every time you take the right step, even when results aren't visible yet, you're building resilience into your system. You're telling your body, we're not giving up, we're committed to this. And over time, that message gets heard. Cells respond, systems stabilize, follicles awaken, and that's when real change shows up, not just because of what you took, but because of how consistently you showed up to support it. So when you step back and look at the full picture, the science, the biology, the behavior, and the mindset, it becomes clear this isn't just about a pill, it's about building the conditions for transformation. Yes, the compound works. Yes, the data is strong. But it's what you do with it that unlocks its full potential. You have more control than you think, and when you align your daily actions with the mechanisms that support growth, you move from hoping for results to creating them. This isn't theory, it's practice, it's proof. And if 9 out of 10 people can see real, lasting change, the only question left is, are you ready to be one of them?